Right. Hello, welcome back. Carl McSorley, I'm Stephen Mason, and this is the podcast, watch along podcast for Jurassic World. And I'm pressing play now on Universal Studios. Universal Studios menu screens are universally a fucking nightmare.
I mean, they just literally don't give a shit now, do they? I mean, in the world that, no, fair enough, physical media is still thriving for most of us. But, when it comes to putting some effort in, it doesn't do much. I mean, you're talking about DVDs back in the late 90s, I had like full interactive screens and everything. Which have got basic, they literally are just putting the most basic symbols on the find.
It is, yeah. Universal all the same. I'm blowing entertainment there. I don't think we've done a podcast this year, and considering it's November, have we or haven't we?
I don't think we have. I know you mentioned this earlier, and I was like trying to rack my brain. I'm not very good with timeline, but honestly, I don't actually think we've done one this year. I think the closest we came was potentially, wasn't it supposed to be Ghostbusters?
Yes, we are going to do Ghostbusters with Paul Ray.
Yeah.
And I think we held back a few times. I mean, it's not that. I mean, I seen you yesterday. We actually with Paul, and we obviously getting this one down because we've got a couple of there. We've just literally thrown this one out because we talked about we're going to do the Lost Boys, Twister, and Guest House Parody. So, but we decided to do Jurassic World, which is opening now on the Egg, and we get to see an eye. And I love this movie, and you hate it.
No, because you mentioned this earlier on. So I think it's an interesting movie because for me personally, there's a fantastic idea in here somewhere. I hate the following two. This one I can get on board with because this kind of falls in line, similar to, for anyone who doesn't know, obviously I'm a massive Star Wars fan, and The Force Awakens did something incredibly similar. They're using a lot of nostalgic tones in this film, in terms of almost replicating things that happened in the previous franchise, but they're doing it there's a new viewing, there's a new audience, so there's something to like about this film, but it was the following two that I incredibly disliked. So I would say there's definitely something in here that I can enjoy.
I mean, we've done the first 3 Jurassic Parks with Paul, and I remember Jurassic World, you're clicking a bit. I remember going to see this at the pictures and being blown away by it. And then Fallen Kingdom, kind of like, for what it was when it did, it was good. You're clicking, mister.
I don't know what you mean by clicking though. I'm physically not doing anything.
It's going...
Right, so I'll try and position something differently then.
Another reason we haven't done a podcast for a while is Carl brought his phone for a while.
Yeah.
And then Dominion, and already we're getting another sequel. So they're rolling the money because they keep it going. But like, as I said, with this one, all of the almost the cast in these have not even been involved in the follow-up ones.
No. Yeah, no. I don't know, I mean, the thing about this franchise, right, is obviously, let's be honest, if you're going to go right at the beginning, the first one's fantastic. It's actually a really good film because it's one of those perfectly good examples that you can't really make the film and the book exactly the same. So Spielberg does a fantastic job with the first film, which is creating a great film out of what is already a great book. But of course, many people will tell you, the book is completely different to the film sometimes.
Yeah.
But the Lost World, it was kind of like, let's capitalise on how much fun you can have with dinosaurs in a modern world. Obviously, if you've seen the documentary, the fact that the dinosaurs are incredibly good and they weren't meant to be. The studio was actually going to go in a different direction. Someone actually kind of broke rank and went ahead and did some of the CGI stuff before the film production finished. And I don't say many good things about Kathleen Kennedy, but she was one of the few who had actually spotted one of the computer screens in which they were showcasing what a T-Rex would look like had they done it in the way that they did. And it changed the game for a lot of stuff. Now, of course, the third film was like, I don't know, Jurassic Park 3 was just, it was weird. There was no real structure to it, there was no fun. It had a few little things in there, like I say, who didn't want to see dinosaurs running around on screen. So I feel like you could enjoy it for whatever, but this series was, for me, all about the fact that they had all the new tech, they had a completely different audience to look at, and they had to reinvent the film. And like I'll go back to see what I said before. This one in particular does a good job of utilising the old fans with the new to blend them quite nicely together.
Yeah, I mean, like, I went to see, I think we talked about this when we did Lost World. I went to see Lost World New Zealand because that came out when I was over there as a kid. And then, like, it was years later, and I still remember when we did the podcast when Steven Spielberg's cameo is at the very end when he's in the reflection of the television.
Yeah.
That was a really funny, like, because no one had noticed that for us. And then we sort of, like with Jurassic Park 3 was just pretty much, there's a few good documentaries out there online. But obviously that was pretty much loads of elements that they didn't use between the books. You know what I mean? And like, I recommend anyone to read the book, but I think this completely reinvented it in the modern world of the Jurassic World. Kind of, it had some beats and nostalgia, but obviously big and bold. And I'm watching this on the 4K Italian, and it just looks unbelievable.
Yeah. So what I was thinking with this particular one is being like, we obviously have a foresight now. We now see how people have received it and how people like it. I think what might have been a bit more interesting if they did a very much like a what if kind of storyline. So it almost is, because we can say that Jurassic Park actually opens.
Yeah.
But there are some things where I would have been like, it would have been fun to like sort of go, well, what about the characters? Could you reintroduce the characters as slightly different? So like Ian Malcolm being actually all for it and thinking that opening a dinosaur park would be a great idea, and that would have been a great way to bring back some of the actors, because I think, like I say, most of them all, when this came out, still well within age. And the only reason I say that is because I know within the structure of any film like this, it's always going to be a case of, well, no, you got to move on to different characters and that. Well, you do, but that's why I feel like this film tried to have it cake and eat it. It is basically, I mean, look at Claire right now. You know, we've got Bryce Dallas Howard, wonderful actress, fantastic director. I don't think she gets enough credit for being a director. But, you know, the fact that she's wearing all white, you know, that's kind of massively, you know, nod to Hammond, and the fact that he was obviously running the ship in the original one. So they are trying to have the cake and eat it a little bit with this film. Even the scientist, isn't he, like, from the original film? I forget that one.
Henry Wu.
Yeah, Wu, right, yeah. So again, really, I would have thought it might have made a bit more sense to kind of do a what-if story, like have the same character, but in a very much this is what would happen if the film hadn't, if the first film hadn't happened and everything opened as it should have.
I mean, with it all, it's all about franchises to create the. I think one of the problems with the new series, the Indominus Rex, right? That was like, there's a selling point. It's going to be the big new bad and all that. And like, there was loads of dinosaurs that could have brought in, and like the elements. I mean, like, you're clicking again.
Right, I'm going to say, since you mentioned it, you are clicking as well. So I'm just going to keep talking. I will be with you.
All right, okay.
I might cut out a little bit, but that's not a problem because it'll only be for a second.
Yeah, so like the original, like the second movie just like brought in a few, but it didn't bring in big bads. The Spinosaurus that came in the third one is an underrated villain because the thing is menace. But like, obviously, you know, they haven't really followed on. There's a little bit here. I know the Jurassic Park Camp Cretaceous gets a lot of praise for what happens after Jurassic Park 3, because obviously a lot of people there, as Paul falls through the after that, you can see the Stegosaurus just on the left there. That's a nice little nod to the third one. But again, it's all about franchise. It's all about, like, I can't believe it took all the way up to the third one to bring in back the Dilophosaurus and stuff like that. But it's almost like the nostalgia stuff, and then the execution of like the original cast not being in it as well. I think Carl's gone. Okay, Carl's been eaten by a dinosaur. But yeah, as I said, like I went to the pictures. I tell you when I went to see this. Actually, I'd went on my own to see this one. It was it's a weird time when this came out. I think I'd not long just been in my car crash. And I remember going to it and having that nostalgia. I mean, I've seen Jurassic Park about 9 times at the cinema. Once with Jack with a full orchestra. I don't know what Carl's doing, bless him, but you know. But yeah, Mr. DNA makes his little cameo here. So there's loads of hidden Easter eggs and stuff like that. And this looks absolutely gorgeous on the television.
Can I say, did that click and stop now, yeah?
Oh yes, you sound a lot clearer. I don't know what you've done.
Okay, so what I've done is I've taken the hearing aids out and I've used the headphones, so I wasn't sure if the headphones would work.
Yeah.
But clearly they are, so yes, I'm back.
Yeah. If you didn't know, Carl's deaf.
Yeah, hearing aids, by the way, for anyone who misses the hearing part of that.
Oh, you sound loads better now. So again, this is just a podcast. You know, it's not the film. It's just a movie. But yeah, as I said here, there's loads of.
I found it quite ironic that I'm sitting here watching this on a substantially older TV, playing through my PS5 with the capability of 4K with an older TV, whereas you're watching on a 4K telly. But have you got a 4K player yet?
No, not yet. No, I've just got a PlayStation. I'm getting there.
But I mean, I saw the image you sent before, and it was crystal clear, like.
Honestly, I was watching. Since I've only had the telly a few weeks, and I've everything I've pretty much watched. One, it's either been on streaming, which I don't really rate on the telly because it's it's just not there. And then sort of I've watched a few films, but dude, I was in the studio the other day and I was watching VHSs, and I was watching Longlegs on this television, and I nearly fell out my fucking seat because. The style of that film, but then with it being a curved plasma, it was weird. It was a weird experience, and that's the other night, I bought Orca, which again, big creature feature film, and then I've bought Dead Man with Johnny Depp, buying films that I have not seen that have probably restoration and actually getting the use out of the television.
Yeah, oh cool.
He's a cast member here, who obviously came in. He's not in any of the ones, obviously nostalgia there. And I believe there's a Ian Malcolm book hidden around here as an Easter egg, if that's right.
I believe there is. I was trying to figure out what was going on in the scene, because I think there's a couple of things. I don't think we mentioned that there is, in fact, a Hammond statue.
Yeah, he was before, yeah.
That was in the foyer area, which was a bit of a nod to him, because I think they always said that he was very vocal about saying he was always game for popping up as a cameo and stuff like that. Unfortunately, I believe he died during the production of this film, so there was no way that you could actually get him involved. But they did put him in there for a little bit of a nod.
Well, that's it as well. It's with the sequel, when the sequel of this, when suddenly Hammond's got a friend that's never mentioned, it just feels forced down your throat.
Yeah. And of course, this is where it got a bit confusing, because obviously when I was watching this in the cinema, obviously you've got Jake Johnson here with all the dinosaurs on his desk and everything like that. So obviously they are now officially pretty much acknowledging that Jurassic Park was a thing.
Yeah.
And so therefore, because I think that was a bit weird in the promotion. Did you ever get a clear sense that this was going to be a different world to the original film, or did you know it was going to be a part of the same universe?
I think it's
I can't remember it ever being promoted that it was the same universe.
I just remember just the hype that they were making one, because obviously everyone always wanted to go back to the original Jurassic Park, and obviously the second one was a different island, and then it pulls the King Kong on you because of the times, and then the third one's back on the second island. So everyone's again, the canister. I think the third one of this series tried to pay homage, what's happened to the canister? What happened to this? Why haven't you gone back? These dinosaurs. And it's kind of I think enough time had passed to go, yeah, we went back, we sorted it out. But then obviously it is the next one when the island blows up.
Yes.
And you think, well, hang on a minute, right? That island's blown up. Would you build a tourist attraction on a volcanic fucking structure? No.
No, well, this is true, yeah.
Yeah, there's a really bad film, I think it's called Fire Sky, and it's front covers, I think it's Simon West, the director of Con Air.
Right.
And it's one of these Chinese funded movies, and it's about a theme park on a volcano, and I think one of the famous actors in it's not Oscar Isaac, man. He's British. He's the voice in Resident Evil. He's in Event Horizon. He's Isaac somebody, and he's standing on the edge and he actually gets hit. Oh, honestly, God, it's some of the CGI's in it. It's so bad. He puts this kid in the boat and he's like, right, you're safe. And he turns around and he just takes a volcanic rock in the face and you think, why? It's really bad. But again, that's a theme park on a fucking volcano.
Well, you're talking about bad CGI. I mean, are we talking bad? Are we talking like damn sea vampires bad?
No, the damn sea vampires is a whole different ball game. Now, as well, introducing a new character so I think he's unjustifiably killed in this. I think he, he wasn't in the original series. He's not like an actor that's came back, someone like that, and it's kind of like, he died. I mean, fucking hell, Hawaii just looks absolutely stunning, like, And obviously the new cast to bring in is obviously Chris Pratt as well. Obviously skyrocketed to fame as well. So
yeah. Well, this is like, I think this is where I start to lose faith in Chris Pratt as a character. Is that I think he works well in this film.
Yeah.
I think him training the Raptors, which will come with him shortly, and him having that kind of relationship works well. I don't think anyone ever confirmed or denied it, but obviously there was always that rumour that Chris Pratt was in fact the Tribby kid that gets scared with the Velociraptor claw.
Yeah,
in the first film. So there's always that kind of little nod, which I quite like. I think it's fun. I don't think I needed to be exactly connected that way. But his characters start to really fall apart after this film, which, just a heads up, that's why I start to lose faith in the film in the second and third one, because his character just annoyed the life out of me. But I will give him credit in this one.
Personally, to me, I mean, here is a good thing about the dinosaur and the brand new dinosaur, your big bag. You sort of kind of see it there. I absolutely love the reveal of it when it's sort of like, because you say, why is it white? It doesn't really feel white the rest of the movie. But when you see it looking in the eyes and stuff, I personally think this guy who's just turned up, who I apologise, don't know his name off the top of my head, I honestly think this was written for Jeff Goldblum.
Right, yeah.
Because if you think about it, how many...
I think he should have been in the film for sure.
Yeah, but it almost feels like he was entrusted to look after it as a Jeff Goldblum came back for, his last scene with Richard Hammond, or Dr. Hammond, whatever you want to call him. I just kind of feel like, again, the roles in there was kind of like, he's just killed off, so he doesn't really feel like an incredible thing. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, pretty much, yeah. Well, actually, to be honest with you, the role I probably would have given Jeff Goldblum, which will come up shortly as well, is the guy talking in the sphere.
Yeah.
I think it ended up being Jimmy Fallon or someone like that. I think it's some comedian. And I just always thought, for some reason, even when I watched it for the first time in a big screen, I remember watching this going, that feels like a missed opportunity there. They could have had someone in that video to do an actual role in it rather than just giving it to a comedian, like I say, with a cameo throwaway joke.
Well, it's almost like, the two actors, the kid actors from the original Jurassic Park, in theory, they would inherit the park.
Yeah,
true. And both of them seem...
that's where, I was kind of thinking that they would show up. I thought it was going to be like a bit of a cameo in terms of like our involvement is non-existent because of our experiences. But yeah, they don't seem to do anything, do they?
Well, the kid...
up to these days, but I know the lad, he was doing quite well. He was doing Pacific Rim, HBO big series. So I know he's still out and about doing some acting. So.
Well, he was in Bohemian Rhapsody, wasn't he?
Yeah.
I don't think she's done much because she actually came back for Tremors 3.
Well,
Okay, so...
how's it looking on your screen with that CGI? They're still holding up?
Let's see. The problem is, I think the Raptors in the original were so menacing because they were really there. The brownness, the look, they were menacing, like really menacing. These two, obviously, Blues, the rest of them Echo and all that, unfortunately meet the demise, and Blues went on to be part of the franchise. But yeah, I mean, it's, you can kind of see, like, I mean, CGI is just getting better and better, but like, it's kind of like, your brain still says it's really there. When that T-Rex originally shows up in like in the thunder and the rain, it's really, really there. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, this is it, though. That's the thing. That's where I was asking you on this case, because obviously with 4K, it can look fantastic. It can do anything with CGI do. There is always going to be that level, though, where, I mean, this franchise alone, especially the new film, they do really rely on the CGI part of it. So there is massive chase scene, there's things happening, and I never fully invest in this because it feels CGI. There's no weight to them. Whereas, like I say, you go back to that original film when T-Rex is chasing after the Jeep, you feel every vibration on that stomp. You feel the fact that he's almost kind of gauging in on the vehicle. I just think that's what a lot of these modern day films, I won't hate on this as much, but I would say like things like Transformers and stuff like that, it just doesn't feel like there's any weight behind any of these animals, and that's where it kind of loses out a little bit. Although it looks fantastic, maybe not holding up in terms of believability.
I watched Battleship the other week.
Made us believe that dinosaurs were back. You know?
I watched Battleship the other week, and that seemed to have like really been like well made. That obviously the actor there, Vincent, he's got a weird surname. He's been in some obviously Kingpin, The Cell,
Private
Piles, yeah, and then the other actor, he returns in the third one, doesn't he? So as well,
he does, yeah.
But it doesn't really like have like the, you know, Chris Pratt just really feels like it's just putting on an Indiana Jones thing. He doesn't really feel weathered into the role. Do you know what I mean? I think if you had that role, you wouldn't exactly have you would have the odd haircut and stuff like that. You know, it's just kind of.
Well, this is it. I mean, obviously, I think this was probably at the time as well when all that was being talked about, whether or not he would in fact take over Harrison Ford role in Indiana Jones, and the fact that he was being like held up as the next big action hero.
Well, it's also the fact I think like, he couldn't change his role because of Guardians.
Yeah, but that's the thing, though. Like the thing with Chris Pratt is that I do feel like, I mean, I wouldn't say the carbon copy, but if he kind of struggled with like the Rock's issue, which is that, you know, you kind of, although the Rock's just terrible, with Chris Pratt, I feel like he doesn't really stretch out the role very much. You could watch him in 4 or 5 different films and he kind of does the same thing. He's a bit snarky. He's got a few little quips and a bit of jokiness to him, but he doesn't quite commit to the, I am not the man, you know, I'm a little bit of a wild kind of soul. And he kind of did that with Star-Lord. He does it with this. His most recent one, which I think he kind of phoned in a little bit. I didn't watch the film, but he did Garfield, the voice. Again, he just feels like he kind of just, he walks into a room and gets a job now because of his name, rather than whether he's actually doing any great acting.
Well, he's Mario as well, wasn't he?
Well, yeah, I mean, he had, well, it was a strange one because I think he was, I think he's got some, I don't know what it is. It's not like Scientology. He's very religious. I think he has ruffled a lot of feathers because he was married to, I forget her name now, Anna someone. She was in all the scary movie films.
Oh, yeah. Anna Faris.
Anna Faris. So they were like very much Hollywood sweethearts, and they were like, oh, this is the look you go for. This is who you want to aspire to. And then, of course, naturally, when they broke up, it kind of went a bit strange, but yeah, sure.
Isn't he married to Arnold Schwarzenegger's daughter?
I think so now, yeah. He just had a kid, I think. Probably another one, I think, yeah.
There's a really good bit here as well when they just don't turn your back on the cage, and the raptor's really there, like looking vicious, but I still say they don't look as menacing as they did in the original.
Nah. But the thing is, okay, and like I say, I will say for sure, this makes sense. The fact that he, as I would do, he's using the force right now to stop these raptors with that hand gesture. And this works because he is a trained, you know, he is training them. You can tell that that's the relationship he's got with them. But as we'll eventually see somewhere down the line, if you ever go and watch the other one, this is pretty much his move. Any disaster that Chris Pratt and this franchise find themselves into, just bend your knees, hold your hands out, and you're pretty much going to stop any dinosaur coming after you. Because like I say, it makes sense that they have a relationship with them, but later on down the line, it's just like, it's ridiculous. You know, dinosaurs aren't going to like just stop you because you got your hand out.
Yeah, it's a bit there where he don't turn your back, the cage about to come up and it's just snarling at him.
Yeah.
But now they don't look as mad. I think like what Jurassic Park 3, I think it's just creeping up there, look. It's in the background, it's spotted him.
Oh yeah.
And he just turns around there and just sees it and it's just like snarling. It's a frightening image. It's probably some of the better CGI of it there. Just there.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. But like, I think Jurassic Park 3 doesn't get enough credit for how much horror that had in it. Like the birds, when you're looking at one, it turns around, it just turns its head. When the birds come along the cage, and I think the Spinosaurus, I think that is probably up there with some of the scariest moments. But I don't think this has a lot of scariest moments.
No, it's more of an adventure film, I think. Where it obviously, like I say, going back before, like with the film, compared to the book is a lot darker. You know, a lot of the characters are darker, and stuff like that. But I think obviously, like you say, you are put into Hollywood. You do want to have it as a bit more of an action adventure. But I think the first film and the sequels in the first reign of franchise was that it was playing on the fact that they could get a little bit more daring. This was purely like maybe not so much, but how many toys can we sell, you know? Because you have a raptor with a particular colour on it, so therefore you'd know which one to buy in the shop, you know?
I said that the colour palette of this feels like what Universal would look like in the 90s. It's the palette of the colour.
Yeah.
You know, the originals, you know, it's stripped of colour and it rains for pretty much predominantly of the movie and the dark nights. And this just feels like, it feels fresh, it feels new, you want to go there.
Yeah. And it's a real theme park as well, you know? I mean, obviously it's a closed down one. That's how they're filming it, but it is in fact a real theme park. So I think that's another thing that they kind of did well with keep within the detail. You know, if it was just an on-set lot, it might not necessarily throw away that you're actually in a park.
Yeah.
That's a cool shot. I like the log and the fact that obviously they have the screen in view. Because again, it's like, how do you make Jurassic Park more immersive? You know, if you are going to have all that money and all that opportunity to create an actual park, I like the way that the film looks in terms of an actual park.
Yeah, as well. It's the T-Rex as well. Obviously, it is the original T-Rex from the original movie, as it's been saying. And pretty much a bit of an homage back there to the goat as well.
Yes.
But even her driving in the car there, totally CGI. Like, there's no, like, you know, she's not driving on a road. And if you look at, she's crying. It's just a green screen car. It's so clear. It's like, put her in the car and drag her.
Yeah.
But poor man's process.
You know, they spent all the money on the dinosaur, didn't they?
Yeah. Obviously, she's in the sisters in the Halloweens, the new series, isn't she?
She is. She's the Jamie Lee Curtis's daughter.
Yeah.
Which could be an interesting podcast, I think. I feel like that one's got a very similar tone to the fact that the new one was brilliant. It was a way to kind of, if you wish to eliminate all the sequels, you could do it that way. Whereas again, unfortunately, just very much like this one, it was a massive success, hugely popular, so therefore, no brainer, let's make another one, and make another one, and then get too close to the sun.
The problem with Halloween was calling it Halloween for a start, and obviously that was the thing a couple of years back, because we had Scream being called Scream. And Scream's the same. Scream obviously jumped on and now it's Scream 6. But like Halloween, when here in the UK, discontinuing John Carpenter's Halloween, so the original isn't actually available. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's like half the Halloweens in the UK are not available. Yeah.
So this is, again, I mean, I suppose you've got to have a little bit, but like, got this kind of weird love interest thing. again, something that I thought worked really well with the original Jurassic Park is that it didn't have that. Obviously, yes, I think you kind of assume that, Ellen and
Grant. I didn't realise that there was...
I don't think I never saw that when I watched the film, but I can see now as an older person, like, I guess that there is a bit of flirtation going on there.
I didn't realise, though, there's 20 years between Sam Neill and Laura Dern.
Laura Dern is definitely, and to much respect, as an attractive woman, but she looks a lot older in that film than she really is.
Oh yeah.
I think a lot of people just assume she was the same age as Dr. Grant.
Yeah.
Nah. She was basically like a 19, maybe 20-year-old in that film. And I was like, Jesus Christ.
I totally agree with you there, dude. Like, I've seen the relationship, kind of the flirtation, like, are they together, aren't they not? And then the second one just nipped it in the butt, kind of like, no, they're not.
Yeah.
And she came back the franchise, but I didn't even realise she was Bruce Dern's daughter. That's how stupid I am. And she probably has...
I think a film like this just doesn't need to have a love interest. I think it's a big problem with Hollywood these days. I think they always have to have some form of you've got to have a little bit of this. Nah, you come to see Jurassic Park with the dinosaurs. You come to see it because you want to see some really good shots. And this could be a very good relationship. It just doesn't have to be romantic. It could just be that she's a little bit stuck-up businesswoman, whereas he's a bit more like I don't play by the rules kind of thing. So you could still have that flirtatious activity, but the fact that they're really pushing for it to be yes, we were once a couple, but now we are just kind of going to go back and forward and bicker.
So he's one of the big introductions to the franchise. Now, just as you were talking there, Chris Pratt being on the front cover, and there's a pretty much homage to Jaws here.
Yes.
And obviously the big bad comes out here, which is an absolutely amazing thing. But obviously, as a kid, when I seen it, obviously, boom, not having the Loch Ness monster in it, the original, and having a water one. I always thought as a kid, when you think about they could have a water monster and here it comes, and obviously it becomes quite a part of the franchise. But the original front cover poster that I've got somewhere, where it's the kid at the glass and this thing looking there, is an amazing, and the shark in the water is an amazing cover. And they go for Chris Pratt on a bike with a velociraptor, which I think's it's kind of shitty front covers like.
Well, I think the image you're talking about is was the same image that I'd have to have a look and see if I've still got it lying around. So the interesting thing about this being one of the most successful movies of that year, making an absolutely ton of money, it was an interesting one for me because I was seeing a girl at the time and happened to stay overheard, and she went to work one morning. So I was off work, so I was like, what am I going to do? I'm just going to chill around and do nothing. And on my way home, I've got to go to the Metal Centre, which of course is where the cinema is. And it was just a random I'll just pop in and see who's in. It was dead early, so most of the shop was still shut. And this was opening day, and it was 10 o'clock in the morning, and then nobody's going to be there at 10 o'clock in the morning. So I literally watched this with two other people. But coming back around, there was a great little marketing thing that they did, which was the opening ticket for the park. You actually got one in the cinema, and they used that image of the Morasasaurus. And I thought that was really cool. Because again, cinema, we are struggling. There's a lot of money to be made, and as I've devoured into popcorn buckets and limited edition cups and stuff like that. But that little bit of a treat, having a bit of paper ticket to say that you were there in the grand opening of the Jurassic World, I thought it was quite cool.
Yeah, cinema, fucking hell, man. The prices of cinema is the reason people are not going. And no one wants to go to the cinema and sit there in an empty cinema because it's an experience. You want to go in there and laughter's infectious. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You get on board with that, and people shock, and it's part of an experience. But you go to the Odeon, and we went to see Beetlejuice, and that was fucking carnage. Like the foyer, the systems, the audio stuff, and just wait, and here's your number, and people gathering, and cinema times not mixing up. Like, I seen a guy absolutely lose his shit because all he was waiting for was a cup so he could fill his fucking Coke up, and he'd been there 15 minutes. And like, that's not the experience. You want to go in, you go to pay your tickets, and just be served one-on-one. There's your money. But the prices are charging. It's just unbelievable. Like, and like, smaller cinemas are sometimes better for films, but like, when you're talking £25 a person, it's and you know, and you're going into something blind. You may like it, you may not like it. That's the choice of a cinema. But you go to see everything else, and like the Odeon cards, it's, you know, pushing films out. They don't re-show films. It's a box office bomb. It's a box office bomb. It's disaster. There's Jeff Goldblum there. It's a box office bomb. And it's like, give it time. You know, films are getting, it's been pulled from the cinema. Yeah, because like, some people don't get a chance to go that week, you know? It's opening weekend, isn't it? Unless you make money opening weekend, you're deemed as a failure. And I think that's one of the worst things at the moment. Even now, as someone who loves films, I go to the cinema a lot. The downside now, whenever a film comes out, it literally, the first thing you see plastered all over online, such and such is bombed because it only made X amount of money. And I was like, well, you know, that doesn't seem to make or break a lot of films. And it's kind of childish, really, because you can look at so many films in history of movies and how many films have actually succeeded way, way better after their cinema release. Or the fact that they re-showed a film and they made more money because this time around people realised, obviously we did miss out on it. But like we were saying, I mean, obviously I'm a limitless user, so that's one of the major reasons I get to go to the cinema a lot, because I'm paying $17.99 a month, which may seem like a lot for a lot of people, but when you consider one film in the IMAX screen is $21.99. That's just to say one film on an IMAX screen, $21.99, and imagine you're having a family of four. It's crazy money. Yeah, popcorn, buckets, food, and like. Yeah. I mean, I was annoyed waiting for me food for Beetlejuice, and then they turned around and went, Beetlejuice, it was a case of like, order the number after us, and like, it was like Cokes and all that, and all I was waiting for was a bucket of popcorn, and like, someone had like apparently get allocated the numbers, and they took like 10 minutes to sort one person's order out, and like, that's the kind of like craziness. It's the experience. So you do that and you walk in and you're already frustrated. Do you know what I mean? And like, no matter like the cinemas as well, right? I went to see Deadpool Wolverine opening weekend, and I was sitting 2 rows from the front, and that was cool. That I don't understand why cinema seats, like the way cinemas are now, when they're all high rise up and all people can see, and there's a seat at the bottom. Why not just not have them there? Do you know what I mean? It's like screens and all that, but you need to talk for a bit because I need a quick wee.
Okay, so we...
Because you always fall asleep in the cinema.
We've introduced ourselves as the first major dinosaur attack. Obviously, the security guard is definitely not long for this world. But, again, you can see that they are playing with the original. You know, this kind of had a little bit of an image towards the lawyer on the toilet, you know, because he's obviously sitting on there. He realises once the walls fall apart that he's done for, and we're just getting exactly the same shot there, really. Now Chris Pratt is obviously dousing himself in petrol, hoping that will get rid of the synth. But you know, again, going back to the fact that it looks stunning. You know, that dinosaur it's a dinosaur, you know, and that's what you gotta kind of come in to watch. But he's got no weight. See, that's a nice shot. You can see that's real. You know, he's right moused up against it, so that looks like it could be a real piece of equipment. But again, it's worlds between when it zooms back out and you see the body.
Little Easter egg though of Jurassic Park there on the Jeep is the original logo, like kind of that.
You do, yeah. Well, you see it on the security guard's helmet just before you meet his demise. So yes, the pacing's quite good on this. I like how they have adapted on the idea that because the park's open, there's a lot more to do before we get to the main meat of the meal, being that the dinosaurs are actually going to kick off. But I think the pacing's really good. I mean, we're probably about an hour in nearly, maybe 45 minutes in.
39 minutes.
39, okay, right, okay, close enough. But yeah, I mean, like I say, we've done a lot. We've now established some main characters, and now obviously realising that humans are idiots and that we should 100% never be in charge of trying to bring back dinosaurs. I don't think they are too daft in this one, but again, going back to some of the other ones, I think is it the second one when they create the combination of the perfect dinosaur, where it's like the body of a raptor and the head of a T-Rex and stuff like that. And it's just stupid. It just makes no sense.
Yeah.
So there we go. We've got the raptor head in the cage. I remember this being quite cool. I remember thinking that makes a lot of sense. If you obviously train a raptor and that, you need to get up and close to them. But I like the technology. I like the fact that they've had to make stuff like this.
Oh, as well, there's no espionage in this as well, because you could say that the guy has done this to cause a problem, but it's the incurrence of man, it would escape, because obviously it's Nedry in the original, who he follows it, but it comes down to human error here. It's the guy panicking, but it's because they're greedy. They want more. They've got the point that the newest dinosaurs aren't enough, so they need to make a genetical. I mean, it's where the world would be. I mean, I know it probably goes in with more sequels, but dinosaurs are all over. Is it the third one where there's a plague of fucking bees or something?
Yeah, that's the third one. Yeah.
But
mosquitoes, wasn't it? No, was it not a callback to the first one? Did they make genetically enhanced mosquitoes or something?
There's some of those big clouds. I mean, honestly, right, the way the third one was and all that, Dino Utopia, basically building they sort of made a reservation for it. I wouldn't be surprised if a fucking graboid turned up in one of them. Do you know what I mean? It's owned by Universal. Yeah. But there was so much going on. But this is kind of the park is there. Did they really need the big bad? But then you kind of the big bad in the original is the T-Rex, but then everyone loves the T-Rex because of the fallout of Jurassic Park 3. Yeah. But it's kind of you need an antagonist. So they create a dinosaur, and another homage to the original, I think.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's again. I generally thought you hated this one. I don't know, again, when we were talking today about what we were going to do.
I saw the third one, so I might have just had a bit of a rant about it and maybe just said the whole franchise was bad. But the third one did leave a bit of taste in the back of my mouth. So obviously, I would argue and say that, yes, I would maybe say that this trilogy isn't a success. I would say, 1 out of 3 is decent. So,
and we've already got a remake coming?
The concept of me saying I didn't like the whole franchise as a new start. In fact, I made another one. I was shocked. I don't think the third Jurassic World, I don't think it did enough money in the franchise for it to warrant another one. Because we're getting a new film, aren't we?
Yeah, it's
an all new story.
I watched a documentary a bit about the third one the other day, and obviously it was victim of COVID from shutdown.
Yes, I'll give it that.
And the new cast and the old cast, I just don't think it was done well. I mean, Jeff Goldblum comes back as a speaker, and then there's loads of homages.
Yes.
And then there's
think about it actually, because obviously you've seen your cast. You've got nostalgia, and you think, oh my god, we're going to see them on the screen again. And again, it's not to their own fault. They just didn't have anything to work with. The entire script was weak, and they were just cash grabs. Like I say, they knew that the third one wouldn't do very well financially. They knew if they stuck that on the front cover that you were going to get the 3 original cast back, that people would turn up. I mean, I know I did.
Obviously,
there's Chris Pratt looking all sturdy again. But then you've got the cartoon. Have you ever watched that, or even seen much of that? Because that seemed to have done quite well on Netflix. and I couldn't get into it. I think I watched about 2 or 3 episodes.
It's weird animation. Thingy's in it, isn't she? Jenna Ortega.
Yeah.
No, I haven't, the only thing I've ever wanted to do but never been able to play it is that survival game they brought out a couple of years ago.
Well, that looked good, but there's a new one coming out which looks amazing, mate. In fact, that probably would be the reason for you to need to get a PS5. It does look like a horror game, and it literally is. I don't believe it's going to be very much an action. I think it's got a very Alien Isolation look to it. Where it's not so much about you trying to fight dinosaurs, it's literally you just trying to survive. I saw a trailer a while ago, and it is definitely highly anticipated for me to get that on format.
Oh, don't get us wrong, the PlayStation, there's a load of games I want to play, like obviously Spider-Man 2 and the new Wolverine game and stuff like Dead Space and RoboCop. Yeah. It's just obviously I went for the telly first. And the PlayStation is on the plans. I actually love this coming up here. It can camouflage, but it only does it really the once. But I love looking back to see it hidden. I love reveals of creatures and stuff like that. But I just don't rate it. I like it. Just if it was white all the way through, I was like, right, it's white. But I just don't really give it a distinct look.
Nah. Now, given the fact that they could literally have done anything, they could have created anything.
Here it comes. Can you spot it? Can you spot it before it reveals? Can you spot it? It's gonna come. Is it there already? Is it aliens? Is it Predator? And can you see it? Because it passes past its head, yeah.
Yeah. It's camouflage.
It just picks him up like a fucking milkshake. Where you going? Dunk. This is a bit like Aliens, this now.
So this is what I mean, though, because it's got so much potential. If it wasn't trying to create toys, I feel like you can have a crazy... like I say, kind of horror style film. It was similar with I forget what it's called now. I think I might have been the only one who liked it. Like 31 or something like that.
Are we talking about 65?
65, that was it. But to be honest with you, right, I get it. It's not a great film. I'm not going to try and defend it, but it was Jurassic Park on a more of a serious level. It was actual, kind of the concept that a dinosaur would look better, in my opinion, than what Jurassic World is managed to achieve. They stepped out doing generic dinosaurs and kind of made their own kind of mutated lizard things, and I thought it was actually quite fun to watch. But no, I think the rest of the world said it was horrible. So
I seen 65 a few weeks ago because I was considering about doing that for a podcast. I don't like 65 when it makes you feel for a dinosaur, oh, there's a dinosaur, then it gets mauled after they've just saved it. And I felt as a viewer you kind of get cheated for that. They're trying to lure you in, and I just don't think Adam Driver actually carries the film very well. And it has probably almost a Friday the 13th remake for the longest running intro for a title screen when it comes up.
Yeah,
because it's ages in. The best thing about that movie is when the reveal of it in the waterfall when it's behind him.
Yes.
A great reveal, but apart from that, it's almost forgettable.
I mean, that is the issue. I mean, I couldn't even remember the title, and it's pretty much a number. So I get that as a film, it doesn't quite stick to landing. I like the fact that it was just playing on an adventure film. Again, it was just kind of being its own little thing, and it didn't need a sequel, to be fair. Again, when most people are going, it didn't perform well enough to be able to do more, and I was like, you don't need more. What you're going to do a flash forward and have people running around, because obviously it was supposed to be the big reveal that it was in fact Earth who was on. But no, I think we just talked about before, with the cinema kind of pop up because I'm surprised they didn't do much for this. I think Jurassic Park cups and stuff like that, because essentially, if you look carefully, I'm sure there's some merchandise in this film that suggests that you could do some interesting toys with this.
But the era of pop vinyls, now the pop vinyls come out and all that. I just think like I don't know what site we were on. I sent you it ages ago when they've done a Dennis Nedry getting killed by the thingy, and it was $4.5 grand or something. That wasn't $4.5 grand, 450 quid or something like that.
Crazy. Well, could be worth 200 and that Ghost Pacifica. So I quite like this. I feel like there's a nice touch to this. The fact that they have kind of suggested that the Jeeps might be a little bit old school now for what the world that we seem to be living in here. So the gyrospheres, I quite like the concept of that being that they're still technically on the tracks as the Jeeps were, but in this instance you can actually kind of veer off, can't you? You can go off on your own and do your own little thing. I thought that was a nice touch for the modern world.
He takes a massive twist from the original. He just seems to be the guy working in the lab to this crazy fucking genius, doesn't he?
Yeah. And the crazy thing is, though, he is literally the only existing character, and he died in the book, you know. For some reason they've kind of kept his character around, but he's one of the characters that actually dies in the book, in the first book, so it's like weird why they just decided to go, let's just keep him alive and keep him coming back every now and again.
I'm surprised Dino Riders and shit hasn't been made, now, I remember that.
Yes.
But again, the revelations, I think this would have been Richard Hammond, Richard Attenborough, if he was still alive.
Is the guy in the suit like a big Bollywood star? I feel
he is,
He is, isn't he? I'm looking at him now thinking, when you mentioned earlier on how he gets like an unnecessary death and that, and it's like, he's just got that look about him where he's like someone that you're supposed to know, but I don't know who he is. But for some reason, in that little moment there, I looked at him and went, I bet you he's in like a Bollywood film. I bet he's like a big name somewhere else.
I think he's brilliant in it. He literally just turns up like he almost doesn't know, but like it's the character, like it's like he's been entrusted to look after it, but we know it's 20 years later. Like he should have more of a grasp. It's not like he just got it.
Well, this is it exactly, and given the fact that what happened with the original park, you think it would have been like finger on the pulse, kind of.
This is why I felt it was more suited, like Jeff Goldblum, like stepping in and going, no.
Yeah.
There you go. There's Jimmy Fallon.
That's it. Yep, Jimmy Fallon. See, this could have been a Jeff Goldblum character. I think he's got the quirkiness to pull off the funny part, but at the same time, he could have actually been a bit more like even just doing chaos theory. You could have done chaos theory in this little video. It would have been more of a physical like thing, whereas obviously we'll have a little bit of a nod to Laura Dern in the cup of water. But as someone who is in fact supposed to be a scientist, I just feel like such a strange kind of opportunity to use a Jimmy Fallon role of all people. Unless you would order a favour, I don't know.
Well, it's almost like Julia Moore, or even Vince Vaughn. Characters, like if Vince Vaughn had came back in this, that would have been an interesting, because they almost like all that cast from there are forgotten about. Yeah, everyone raves about the original cast.
Malcolm in there, really.
Yeah.
Is he the only one from the second film that is even mentioned or even existing?
Yeah.
How strange.
Because
especially with Vince Vaughn still being a pullable character as an actor. It's not like it was even you got Sam Rockwell. Was Sam Rockwell in the third one? No.
It's not Sam Rockwell, it's the guy who plays...
The guy who portrays him, but it's not him, but he kind of looked like him.
He plays Pastor Troy's brother in Face Off.
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
He was actually...
There's so many characters you could have pulled from it just to kind of add into this, but for some reason... They just want, like I say, going back to having the cake and eat it. They want to kind of use the original films to hold them up a bit, but then they want to also say, look at all these new people that we tend to don't really care enough about because we don't really see too much of them.
I think it's a really cool shot there, the Stegosaurus and Triceratops running together, which obviously were, Stegosaurus, even though it's essentially not in the film, the original, I think in the book it is the Stegosaurus on the floor and not a Triceratops. And and then obviously the toys that came out, I always remember having the Stegosaurus, the green one, where you had the removable body parts.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Now, the thing is, I might have to do a bit of a Google search here because I just learned a fact the other day, which is crazy. So we're talking about the Stegosaurus, right?
Uh-huh.
Apparently, the years between us and dinosaurs is almost the same length of years as a Stegosaurus and a T-Rex. They did not even remotely coincide with each other. They just literally years and years and years. There was no connection between the two, and I was like, how crazy is that? I just assumed all dinosaurs lived in the same timeline, basically.
Well, I don't even believe dinosaurs existed. I think I just know.
God. Controversial take, everyone. All the listeners are going mental right now.
No, I believe in the myth of the Loch Ness monster and all that, but I believe
Sorry, did you just say you don't believe in dinosaurs? But you're like, no. I believe in Loch Ness, not monster.
No, but it's it's weird to think that how vast this world was. And they know it was 65 million years ago, and we only really know what the fuck's been happening for maybe 120 years as a human race, really.
Yeah.
Anything prior to 120 years, it was written down in a book. Yeah, that happened. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. It's there's no fucking evidence of it happening. There's no photos or anything. Who built the pyramids? Well, I don't know. Dinosaurs are real, were they?
Well, the T-Rex lived closer in time to human than the Stegosaurus, but the fact that apparently this is the time between the Stegosaurus and the T-Rex is greater than the time between the T-Rex and humans, and that just blew my mind. I just thought, you know what I mean, as far as dinosaurs go, like I say, I don't think it was ever really discussed as a child. I think we probably all had that one book that had all the pictures of dinosaurs in that told you about them.
Here is a great cinematic reveal, I think, here, when it creeps up behind them. There. It's there.
He's already there, yeah. I could say he's already there, yeah.
It is, that, to me, is great. And yes, there's a death scene here, but it kind of done off death. But yeah, that is a very... I think if it was done a little bit darker, it would have been even more scarier.
Yeah.
Flying ball.
Yeah, I'd imagine if you had it as a nighttime scene, but maybe the only light is inside the ball.
Yeah.
And then you just about be able to see the teeth.
Well, it's wrecking the place, isn't it? It's killing them off. Kills this one off, a little fight to the death.
Yeah. I mean, if you could guarantee that it wouldn't break, you'd totally be in one of those fear balls, wouldn't you? Just throw yourself into the wild. And just...
Well, yeah, rips it apart, legs. Woof.
Yeah.
And that's pretty graphic, that, for a kid, you know what I mean?
Pretty gruesome, yeah. I mean, obviously you don't see the head come up, but you know what's happening.
All the vibrations.
Hey, Marty Mark. I'm surprised he hadn't been involved in a Jurassic Park one.
Well, we went for Transformers, didn't he?
He did. And the fool he was. I don't think he would have been any better off either way, but, you know.
See, again, not as good as the original at all.
No.
This is playing a bit of an homage.
Before, obviously we saw his first attack, and that was one of the things I mentioned. I said there are things where when they get really close with the mouth, you can kind of believe it might be a practical effect.
Yeah.
But the issue that you're having here right now is, yes, it looks beautiful as CGI dinosaurs go, but there's no weight to him. You know, there's no fear that he's actually really there. And obviously these kids are having to act with tennis balls. But, I mean, it's not a bad scene, this. I like the idea that it is obviously breaking down this fear, and obviously you can see how he's just limitation with the jaw. But it is a take on the Jeep and the T-Rex scene in the first film.
Every kids film, every Jurassic Park film has a fit in the kids in it, the kids element.
Yeah. I think that the thing about Timmy and Ellie, I liked them and I had investment in them to a certain degree. I have a hard time with these two.
Yeah.
I don't really care about them. And I know they're going to be safe. I know they're not going to be ballsy enough to kill two kids off. So there's not really much of a worry, really, other than the fact that they just don't really have much going for them. Whereas at least with Ellie, she was like, I have no idea about this. And then Tim was like, I'm an enthusiast when it comes to dinosaurs. So even the banter and the conversation they're having, it was fun. But
again, I don't really rate that dinosaur. It just, when it comes out the woods there and it looks kind of really like thin and clunky, I just don't rate it. I mean, again, giving more credit to Spinosaurus, there's a scene in the third one where they turn around, and I'm sure they take it out of the book because there's a bit in the book where they don't realise the T-Rex is there because it's standing so still, and they turn around and it's just standing there looking at them. To that there of it coming out the woods, again a bit too light, and I think coming up's like one of the only scenes that actually have a practical effect, which is the death of one of the dinosaurs. I think it's a puppet to your head. I think it's the only actual prosthetic in the actual film.
right.
This here, the head is real.
Spielberg's an executive producer on this, isn't he? He's not much else involved.
I think this would have been a good film for him to come back and direct and set off a new franchise, but he chose not
That's
to.
what I'm thinking, because I know he had some say. He did have a lot of advice, but like I say, this is one of the things where, you know, you think with the success of the first one and the fact that it did go against the studio kind of idea, what they said it should have looked like, and I thought they would have learned from that, but
I think Spielberg...
you can see that's obviously, it's a real...
Yeah, that one's real. I think what Spielberg's done is, I think Spielberg secretly owns, like, I think, you know, he owns E.T., he owns Jaws, he owns Jurassic Park, and he has a say-so in all these film franchises he's done. He's a very smart man. I think he literally, like, has done so much. I mean, to me personally, I think Steven Spielberg is the greatest director to ever live, I would say.
Really?
I would say that because of how much he's accomplished. I mean, again, I think he gave the CGI, he gives the words to franchise, he does the original summer blockbuster, he's ambitious enough to make Jaws when he's like 27 or something.
Yeah,
you know, he won the Academy Award.
I think the friendship as well, a friendship between him and Lucas. I think obviously they were both pioneers, and although I'd probably give Spielberg the edge over Lucas, despite me being a diehard Star Wars fan, but I feel like them two being friends when they were so influential between each other.
I think Spielberg in general,
each other on their own projects and stuff like that, and I think it just worked out. They were both very passionate film lovers. I think that's one of the things that you see now. We've had endless conversations about how, you know, in Hollywood today, there's not many filmmakers out there. There's a lot of business people who want to make films, but there's no filmmakers. Yeah. I think you still get that worry that obviously when you look at people like Tarantino still trying to maintain what he knows he loves. Spielberg's a little bit that way. I feel like he does fall a little bit in some aspects. I didn't think much of his take on West Side Stories. I think that was just very Hollywoody. Didn't seem to have much passion behind it. But I think that is one of the reasons why I'd agree with you. He's definitely in the conversation of top 5 directors of all time. And I think, again, he has a passion for creating movies on a level that we don't really see in Hollywood as much these days.
Just franchises and creativity, and you know, he wins the Academy Award for Schindler's List the same year he does Jurassic Park, that kind of stuff. I mean, not to say that he hasn't done his stinkers. I mean, he shouldn't have done Lost World for a start.
Yeah, well, that's the thing, though. Like, I think you take a few gambles, and obviously it'd be very difficult not to. You know, imagine getting all that success from, say, Schindler's List and Jurassic Park, and then obviously having someone like, say, come along and throwing shit tons of money at you and saying, right, there you go, now you can do whatever you want because you've got all the money. Which I think there's a lot of directors going back 30 odd years who can prove single-handedly that some of the best work is through limitation.
Yeah.
It's not having everything, it's being able to say, right, you've only got this much, make something out of it. Whereas if you give someone an unlimited check, you know, they're probably going to turn around and say, right, let's do too much and then lose everything.
Well, that's it. I mean, I still say this today. It's like, if you can visually see what you want, I mean, there's so many tools now, and like, you know, scripts and like, and when you make something, there's so many things when directors get burnt out because the director, but then the shift of power, like writers, or it's meant to be written that way, then the writers got more clout than the fucking director, the producers, and it's like, you know, you put unions involved and actors guilds and there's so much you've got to think about, like, now when it comes to films. Oh, we'll fix it in green screen, we'll do it green screen.
Yeah.
Think of the 80s and going into the 90s, before the boom of CGI, that kind of era of movies for storytelling, actors, actually, like, the collaborations weren't much there because that wasn't cool. You had people like, because things took so long to get done, you couldn't really commit to other stuff.
Yeah.
But then as the internet rose, and you see, for example, a really good one I think is Michael Keaton being in Jackie Brown, then turning up in Out of Sight the same year with George Clooney, and then being the same, he's the same actor, he's the same character in the two films. You know, weird stuff like that, or the fact that they were hiding Bowie's face in the labyrinth and stuff like that. You know, it's a time of where they were making really good movies and big budget anticipation. There was no spoilers. A trailer was a big deal. A poster would have a shelf life in a cinema for 6 months.
Yeah.
Now it's like, oh, what?
100%.
You know, you walk past and there's a big, there's a bit gone next week in the bin. You know, it was an anticipation, it was an event, there was a reason to go. And now it's just so like, oh, I didn't make most money, pull from sale. Oh, it's not very good, we're going to scrap Batgirl. Really? You know, and stuff like that. It's just fucking so much like out there. And as we're about to get the nostalgia trip as well, as they're finding the original visitor centre here.
Yeah. I feel like, again, this works really well with the pacing of the film. Because obviously it's all kicking off, but then it just gives you that little bit of sense of, oh, look, that's the original visitor centre. Like I say, you're saying, getting that little bit of a small dose of nostalgia there. And it keeps you in the film.
Yeah, I mean, this isn't majorly panning up, and obviously that shot there is that, and you can kind of see where dinosaurs rule the earth, and you see the well, he uses it, doesn't he? He uses it actually for a light.
Yes, aye. There we go. The banner.
Do you see the Velociraptor thing again?
I don't recall.
Oh, it says here, I'm sure you.
Right, this is because there's a painting on the wall, which you normally see the Velociraptor.
Yeah, there it is there.
There we go,
Well, the thing is, as well, I always wonder about these torches, right? Because every time I light something in the garden, I'm setting a little fire, right? They last for like a minute. Like, they make these torches seem to burn forever.
Yeah.
And plus, he's burning plastic. Is that not going to be fucking chemical?
Well, it'll be definitely smoke. I don't know how he's not getting smoke.
But again, I think they show the visitor centre, but then they go into like this little. This is like their main set now, and the goggles are there. Some of the nostalgia.
Yeah.
You've got the goggles now, but like, and there wasn't much nostalgia. I think the only thing else at the visitor centre was the computer room and the ice cream and the fucking Infinite Ant story, wasn't it? Or the flea market.
Yeah.
I don't think I've seen that kid in anything since.
The older one has been. I think he's had a bit more success than the younger one.
Is he not in 13 Reasons Why?
No, but he is in something like that. I'm sure he's in like a Netflix series. Let's see where you're at. Not even given the first line of credit cast members. The young kid is Ty Simpkins. There we go. Nick Robinson, what you been in?
What has he been in?
Alright, so he's known for Jurassic World, of course. Everything. Never heard of it. The Kings of Summer. Never heard of it. Boardwalk Empire, which I do actually want to see.
I've heard of Kings of Summer.
After watching that, but apparently it's really good. Let's see, I'm sure. I think I know him from Love Victor. He was on it. It was a TV series. I haven't seen it, but I know it has popped around for ages. There's also a teacher where he's having a relationship with a young teacher. He's a teenager. Love Simon, that's what it was. That was on, like, it was plastered all over Netflix.
Yeah.
That's where I've seen his face. But that being said, I'm going to go back now because Ty Simpkins, which is a young lad, I didn't think he'd done much, but then I feel like he's done something.
Right, I'm going for another wee as you read that off. Fucking coffee's went straight through us.
Good Lord, you can tell Mr. Mason's starting to get a bit older, can't you?
I heard that.
Honestly. Bless him. Honestly, poor little bladder. So yes, Ty Simpkins, which is the younger of the two boys, was actually in Iron Man 3, which is now where I'm recognising his face. He is Harley Keener. I believe he's been dubbed as being Iron Kid for future projects, and he does turn up at Tony Stark's funeral in Endgame. Spoiler alert, Tony Stark dies. But yeah, we are kind of getting around the nostalgia now by keeping the Jeep in function. You know, obviously they are
I'm here.
doing up the Jeep. You alright there, mate?
Yeah. No, because at the end of the day, we didn't really have a time today. And I must have had 2 or 3 coffees, and when I sat down, I was like, yeah, I'll grab a coffee.
Bless you. So I'll just explain, Ty Simpkins, the younger of the two boys here, he's actually in Iron Man 3. This is where I recognise him from.
Oh, he's the kid,
I don't know if it'll come through, because it has gone really quiet, but I reckon they've set him up to be Iron Kid. So he'll be like one of the replacement to Iron Man in the Young Avengers. But he's also done Insidious, which I've not seen any of those. I know anyone who's a horror fan, these are all like...
I've seen the first Insidious.
Annabelle and stuff like that, yeah.
Hang on a minute, is he actually in Avengers Endgame then? Is he the kid, the focus on at the funeral?
Yeah, he's the one who turned up at Tony Stark's funeral and everyone's sitting there going, who the hell is he? Because he's quite young in Iron Man 3, but obviously that was several years ago compared to Endgame. So I think by the time he turns up, he's very much like almost like a young adult.
Yeah,
which
yeah.
Why everyone was like, "Oh, who on earth's that?" and why I was supposed to recognise him. But here we are again, hiding behind Jeeps. You know, I mean, this is where I kind of get a bit of problematic here, right? Because you've got this dinosaur. Okay, he's being created. It is a genetically impressive feat to come up with some leather. But how do you get that close and not smell people. You got to smell them. You know, as an animal, as an apex predator, how the hell is that dinosaur going, oh, well, obviously nothing here. No, he knows there's like 2 inches to the left, next to 2 living animals, essentially to him.
I also think that...
That's where I kind of get... I know I shouldn't get too mythological when it comes to a Jurassic Park film, but still.
I think as well that didn't really need to be that dinosaur.
No.
Could have been another one.
Now you're getting the sense that that dinosaur is hunting them.
Which is the same as the third one, isn't it?
There from again.
And it just comes in here to show that shot there is obviously... We're about to get the bird cage as well when we run through the bird cage. Yeah.
Do you think that was obviously a little bit of a look at how big he is? Because obviously he did do a little bit of a mini roar, similar to how the T-Rex does at the end of the first one. I think it was kind of like a look how big and bad this one is.
Yeah, but I just don't rate it as I mean, it is a threat because the takedown and all that, but
yeah. So, despite the fact that I think he is being forced into this pilot now, as he is, but if I remember correctly, I do quite like this scene when he takes the helicopter out. I don't know if it's yet or it comes in later on.
Well, it's a bird cage. I mean, at the end of the day, the bird cage was in the original book, and obviously they brought it into the third one.
Yeah.
And the bird cage is a very, as I said, very underrated part of the original series. I think it's very scary, especially when the birds come up to it. This is obviously, bringing on the park there, and it just smashes through.
Yeah.
But I don't really rate the little fucking T-Rex head ones. I think they're just weird. But again, it's bringing all them in. The birds are now going to be involved in it. And that brings them into, going forward to attack the park. And then the park's going to have everything going against it in a minute.
Yeah, well, I'm going to say maybe if you can sort of say one has a good death, I always say it's a nanny. I think...
she gets mauled for no reason.
She gets picked up and flipped over.
See, if that was Richard Hammond's death there.
He might still be alive,
Shut up, man.
It's Gary Busey.
So it's not like we haven't done a podcast, because I have done a few podcasts. So I've got Airheads was done recently on the channel. Rain of Fire. Hot Tub Time Machine is due out this week. So there's been a few released. Well, Bloodsport was one. I think I ended up doing Bloodsport because you had to cancel, didn't you, one time?
Probably. Sounds about accurate.
But again, I think if we'd done Twister or Guest House Paradisos, don't get it wrong, I think this is a really good one to get back in the swing of it. But we are not doing the other two. We've said that before.
No. Yeah, no. It's in my contract. I have refused to buy them, and I have refused to give them any more money.
Because we're meant to do Die Hard 2 Christmases ago with Paul.
Yeah.
And obviously Waterworld is still on the fucking cards.
I mean, like I say though, it's going to be an event. I think Waterworld now. I feel like it'll be quite an achievement. So we'll definitely make that a special one.
We're meant to do frog streaming as well though, because you've still got my Blu-ray for that, haven't you? Go kids.
I have, in fact. It's actually on the side of my unit because it's also next to what do you call it? I forget what it's called now, man. I don't think you were meant to give us it. It was in the box with the TV. House on the Lake or something.
House on... Lake House.
Lake House.
I love Lake House. I would do a podcast for Lake House.
I don't know how it ended up in the TV box, but I remember taking out a TV box going, did he think he lent me this? And then, because I bought that DVD, I think it was when we went to Comic-Con, and you found it in the charity shop and you insisted I buy it.
It's mint.
Which I also agree is a really good film.
It is a really good film.
The Lake House on my shelf. Keep reminding myself that.
No, I would do a podcast for that because it's an interesting one for like time travel, but it's a very good film. I've got it on Blu-ray.
Huh?
Now, there's a couple of Easter eggs all over the place. Stan Wilson's got a bar named after him, I believe. There's a lot of extra work going here.
I'd imagine there's some fans of the director in here somewhere. You know, just kind of getting a little bit of a cameo.
Frankie and Benny's is there. I believe that was a McDonald's.
I was going to say they paid for that, didn't they?
I feel out there looking at that wall looked like the tournament wall where it's just where would you look?
I mean, that's it. It's a very busy screen. Like, I don't know how they're focusing on that at all. Poor Triceratops.
Well, it escaped.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's been a long day for them though, isn't it? Because it's like, oh no, saying that, it's just been night time really, isn't it?
Yeah. Has it? No. No, we haven't had night time yet.
No, we're not had night time. Gently
No.
drying.
It's like tea time. I would imagine if they started like early in the morning, like 9 in the morning, I reckon we're like tea time now.
So there's a Spinosaurus.
This is where the nanny's going to get it, and I think she probably gets one of the better. Because you think she's safe when she gets dropped in the water, didn't you?
But she hadn't really done too much of a bad job. But move.
Yeah. See, this is a good death. But I don't like this one because you're thinking, like, oh, right, she's safe, and obviously they're like messing around with her, so she's like, oh my God, is she going to catch a break? Because it's like you think if they were going to kill her, they would have done it straight away. But now they're taking too long with it. So you kind of know something's going to happen. And then that happens.
Boom.
Yep.
And she would have been swallowed whole.
I mean, she's technically probably still alive right now.
Yep.
No, there's a scary thought.
What's that?
Still being alive when you're being swallowed into a beast that big.
Well, it's like people who wake up, and I mean, it does happen. Like when people wake up, and there's like half a boa halfway up the body.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like people like who are like absolutely absorbed by an animal.
Yeah.
It's not like Pinocchio and Geppetto and Figaro stuck in the fucking whale waiting to get out for Pinocchio.
I just noticed it had on the wall there a Hammond creation as well.
I don't know what them T-Rex things are.
A Hammond creation. I was like, oh, I never noticed that.
But by the time the third one come around, they're living in the fucking countryside. They've got an adopted child who's a clone. They've got a fucking velociraptor as a pet.
See, that just sounds ridiculous even when you say it. Yeah, I would have said the best thing that you could have possibly done. Oh shit! The best thing they could have possibly done with the third one is gone full on I Am Legend. Had about 6 or 7 members of the cast and have it as a complete dead wasteland, and the dinosaurs are taking over. And they could have done it as a much more like suspenseful film. But nah, they didn't do that. So
the documentary I was watching the other day about it was showing like loads of additional footage was cut out at the start and shown as a pre-young trailer of like the life that happened before, and it was shown on the Fast and Furious at the movie where obviously the T-Rex trashing the drive-in theatre and all that.
Yeah. Oh yeah, of course.
Because all that stuff was promotional, but
could be a good scene and it happened.
Yeah.
And it goes the IGN helicopter.
This is a good shot here. Boom. The big bad Marines turning up. So Jill's going to stay.
Well, I said because he stayed and she goes, didn't he?
With the awkward, oh, I've got a boyfriend. Obviously, like, I mean, we've still got quite a lot to go because they haven't, at the moment, unleashed the Raptors yet. That's to come. They're going to go out and then they're going to come back, aren't they?
Yeah.
So, at what point would you be dead by now, Carl?
I think, I don't know. I think I might still be alive. I don't think there's anything happened that I don't think I couldn't get myself out of. But then, I mean, my luck, maybe when they were picking everyone up in the park and just chucking them around, that'd be my luck, probably. But hey, listen, if you're not watching the film and don't figure out where you die in the film, I mean, are you really paying attention?
And there we go. Fucking cameras on the Raptors.
And the thing is, now that I'm watching this, and this is probably like the second, possibly the third time I've seen this film since release, I kind of remember Vincent D'Onofrio being quite a villain, and he's not really, he's been a dickhead, but, I mean, quite frankly, he's not nearly as villainous as I remember him being.
No, he's not.
I think he's just got responsibility, where the other two were like, obviously, we love the animals, whereas he just like as a proper, I would imagine anyone who works in zoos and stuff like that, you have to have that like kind of mentality where you don't get close to them, you just see them as kind of commodity, really.
Yeah, I think with like for years the rumours and stuff that the fact that they were going to make a one and like there was going to be hybrids and dino riders and all that kind of weird shit.
Yeah.
Which obviously is just rumours that circulate because the internet, and then this is essentially what they had for, you know, the Raptors things. Obviously, it was heavily trailered, and in the trailer it was advertised. You knew this was coming, but you didn't really see the turn. And then, I mean, don't get us wrong, I think the ending's class with the T-Rex, how the T-Rex has just been left out of it, and it's like, yeah, he's going to come and save you. And then the Raptor teams up, you know. But then they tried to redo that in the newer one with the weird bird creature.
Yeah.
And then there's loads of rumours about in Fallen Kingdom when the island unnecessarily blows up and all the dinosaurs burn to death. But apparently the T-Rex and the Spinosaurus were meant to have another battle then.
Right. The thing is, like with this one, and the reason why I think this one works, because although the T-Rex isn't really saving them, it's very fortunate that T-Rex turns up. So the thing is, it's kind of looking at the aspects that with these animals, they're not necessarily sitting there going, oh, we're going to look after the human by killing the big guy. They're just all out for each other. Yeah. Whereas by the third one, they've really indoctrinated Blue into being a pet, you know? And apparently this creature has sympathetic values towards its owner, so to speak, which I just feel like you just don't buy. There's no way you're ever going to see like a bloody velociraptor who's going to be like, don't worry, I'm looking after you, but I'm not going to kill you.
It's all right. Oh yeah, are we going to get a dog?
He gives them the look to say, I've got to go my own way, and then a wink and a grin, and off he goes. Yeah,
it's like, oh, should we get a dog? No, we've got a raptor. Well, it'll be all right.
But then the more they've learned, the more these films have been produced, the more they've learned. And I would love to see someone do like a video of what they really look like. Because now people are saying like, they're probably closer looking like the size of a chicken, and they've got feathers and wings and stuff like that, which I know the later on films they do kind of lean on. And I just thought, can you imagine what that scene in the field in the second film would look like in The Lost World? With all these tiny little chicken-sized velociraptors. It's like, it's just not going to be as scary, is it?
I mean,
Or
again,
the kitchen scene would be hilarious.
the raptors in the original, especially when they're in the fucking kitchen and that, are terrifying. The jump scares when she's just turning the power back on, the way that guy gets absolutely manhandled, like, amazing. The second one, yes, the field stuff's great, because it's Raptor Country, and I love it how they leave it to that point. And then the third one, they can fucking talk. They start integrating feathers. They change the colours. The stripey, I think the more got a red tint and stuff. I just don't think I mean, the T-Rex, that T-Rex attack in the original, and the fact that the animatronic and all, it's like, it's just terrifying because it's really there.
Well, like I say, I think it was a really good, honest version of the book, which is, we can't really make a horror film, but what we'll do, we're going to get as close as we can. And I think that's what Spielberg nails. He understands, he knows what the mission is. Whereas, like I say, the more and more Jurassic Park gets popular, the more and more it becomes, like, I mean, obviously there were toys being created that weren't even in the films, you know what I mean? I remember all sorts of, like, stuff that we were buying as kids. I was like, oh, this has got nothing to do with the film, but it's got Jurassic Park written all over because it sells.
Well, I don't think that a lot of the licensing, because licensing and that thing weren't there, do you know what I mean?
Well, that's true, yeah. So I remember, like, a big JP stamp on the leg. You knew it was a Jurassic Park figure. But then again, is that not, like, say, that's like the 90s, right? Not the same as, like, when they did Robin Hood Fantasy figures, and none of them were really licensed to look like them.
Well, I think some of them were like remodels of stuff and that.
Yeah, I was about to say, I was waiting for you to finish second. I think it was like a lot of them were repurposed. Cause I think like Kevin Costner is like literally double the size of The Rock in real life as far as the figure goes, because he's clearly being used as a He-Man or something like that. But yeah, go for good money then now, once if you get a one still in package.
Yeah, a lot of them are in America as well. Because I wanted like Christian Slater, because they did have the likenesses. They're on there, like, but
the only one I remember getting quite a lot of, I think it might have been a birthday or something like that, but I remember getting a lot of Hook figures. See, another one, I think that's a fantastic film, you know, and that still goes down as like one of Spielberg's biggest stinkers, apparently.
I went to the cinema with Paul Ray to watch that, and Paul cried all the way through it.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, bless him.
But no, yeah, it's one of the ones that people forget is a Spielberg film. But that's, to me, it's got all the magic of a Spielberg.
Yeah. Oh, it's a fantastic film as well. Again, when you look at a film that's been done a lot, or at least the story itself was very, you know, kind of, people knew what it was straight away, but I think Spielberg managed to kind of put his own twist on it. And yeah, I can still watch that film to this day and enjoy it. But apparently, not as popular.
No, it's not. It's almost not available. It's, you know, I mean, you can't walk into HMV and buy it. It's gone. No. It's the vinyl came out last year through Mondo and was very popular. Here it comes. Is it there again? Is it visual? Is it
gonna... This is a pretty decent scene here with the lights and everything.
Fucking Predator mode here.
Here we go.
There's a new alpha, and this is the reveal. It's a raptor. So essentially, it's a big raptor.
Yeah. And they're going to just turn around up there. I would have loved it to be like ballsy enough to put subtitles on.
Got a new alpha. It's like the Predator trailer there when we got lied to.
At least it's in the film.
Aye.
No, that was it Predators.
Predators,
when they used that in the trailer, it looked like such a good scene, and they didn't even use it.
Llama. So yeah, 3 of the raptors get wiped out here.
Speaking of Predators, have you heard they've announced that there's going to be 2 Predator films next year?
One of them's taking Blade, isn't it?
Yeah, so apparently one is unknown. Nobody knows what it's going to be about. The other one's a sequel to Prey.
Well, essentially, it'll be an isolated story, I imagine, where you can make 2 films the price of one. But I think Blade remake's been cancelled because of Ryan Reynolds and the Wesley Snipes thing. So it's taken that spot.
Well, I think they're just having a hard time trying to work it in. I think there was a couple of interviews with Kevin Feige and that, and I think, although he hadn't said it, but apparently with the way that the MCU being formed, I think they're just having a hard time having a believable reason for why this bloke who is a vampire in this world. Because the one thing I've got to understand is you can get away with murder with comic books. Do what you want. Because next week the issue changes. Everything changes so dramatically, whereas now, even today, I could not tell you how they're going to put in a Blade character in the MCU film. There's just no way it connects, not really. And then obviously someone else mentioned as well that Mahershala Ali, who was also down for playing Blade, they were saying the other day, he's not although he looks fantastic for his age, he's not a younger person. So they're saying, if you're going to start a whole new Blade, would you not want to have a younger guy to give you some longevity?
Yeah.
But then it was the Wolverine and Deadpool film, a bit of tongue-in-cheek when he said, there's only one Blade and there'll only ever be one Blade. Or was that just more of a quirky line that they just decided to go with?
No, they would have had to have that approved.
I looked at the camera almost to say, does someone want to tell them? But then the fact that the film is struggling to get off the ground, I don't know.
I still think the Punisher and Ghost Rider should have been in.
I wouldn't have been surprised if it didn't get talked about. I haven't seen all the stuff, but I've obviously received the Blu-ray, which I imagine will be out on Monday for the everyday viewers. Yeah. So obviously, to be honest with you, the special features so far, like the deleted scenes and the bloopers and that, a little bit of a letdown. I was expecting for something like this type of film, I thought, there's going to be all the cameos that didn't make into it. Or there would be, a lot of laughs between the sets. Not a lot, to be honest with you, mate. The bloopers last about maybe 2 minutes at best, and most of them aren't actually bloopers. I don't know what they are. I mean, they're just basically Ryan Reynolds spitting out some random lines. I said, well, that's not what I would call a blooper. I would say that's alternative lines. So yeah, I was hoping with the Blu-ray that I'd have a lot more, but then, don't get me wrong, I have no doubt that this will say another edition. I have no doubt that this will be kind of like the ultimate edition will come out next year, and it'll have all the different things that either were meant to happen or that it didn't get around to doing. So now we've got raptors chasing the car, which again, it didn't look bad. It's obviously you got the light playing against it now because we are entering the night time. So
is that's two raptors dead now though, and one's just been grenaded and then that one's just been crushed into a tree.
Well, I was looking it up just as we first started, and apparently it doesn't quite explain it in the film, but apparently online and people involved in the film have suggested that when you mentioned that Blue's the only one that survived, apparently someone suggests that Delta also survives. Apparently Delta gets thrown off the screen the similar way that Blue does. So everyone's now talking, saying, well, technically Delta could still be out there. Not that it would make difference in terms of how the film panned out, because even if we make another Jurassic Park film, there could be no reason to bring Delta back. Not for a random raptor. But, yeah. Little nod towards a sign there.
Oh, I've seen that. There is
pointing in the right direction.
Yeah, so there's 2 raptors left there. So did he die off that collision or just stunned? Now him and his secret office here, this is where everyone's, oh, like, look in the background, look in the back. This could have been another, like, full of Easter eggs and I mean, he just get Vincent Disnoff get a gruesome death when he dies, like, but...
Oh, yeah. I think we might have seen our last best chance of ever seeing one, but I know you definitely would pay good money to see one, but I do think there's still room in the world to do a really good Loch Ness monster film.
Oh, by far. I mean, to be honest with you, Loch Ness, Ted Danson, that was probably a podcast I was going to develop at the start of the year. Yeah. And it got released on 88 Films. And I've done 2 podcasts on the channel for Evil Beneath the Loch Ness and Terror Beneath the Loch Ness. That's the one where the Loch Ness monster moves to Canada. And I thought that would be a good one for it. Because I rewatched the Ted Danson one. And in all honesty, like, what a fucking flop of a film it was, really. The CGI has not held up.
You told me that, so did I not send you a picture when I was in HMV? Yeah. I said, oh, is this any good? Because I was like, oh, that looks like it could be alright.
No, the CGI...
No, terrible.
The practical effects, the reveal of the Loch Ness, yes, that look good, but the CGI of the Loch Ness has not held up. The whole fact that it's like the water kelpie kind of thing. I just think, like we've said this before, I think like the Loch Ness monster would work is almost a found footage or filmed on your phone or something like that when someone was stuck on a boat. I think I think Peter Jackson said it best when he set King Kong way back in that time. He says there's nothing now not discovered. You know, you could say you could make a really good Yeti movie up on the fucking hills of, like, if someone was trying to climb Everest or something like that, and there's potential you could do a Yeti movie there because, like, who fucking knows? Or, you know, the Meg gets a lot of shit, but the Trench, I thought the Trench is quite, you know, it's unexplored country. I mean, the space, it's like, it's having it set in an environment where it could exist or could happen. And, like, you know, you'd have to set the Loch Ness Monster movie in the 80s where you take away cameras and shit like that. Yeah.
I think so, yeah. I mean, obviously, you were talking about, like, the other day, like, something like, still to this very day, like 70% of the ocean is still undiscovered. So, like, there's so much you can do with it, for sure. But I was about, you've nailed on the head there, I would say 80s style, I don't know, like fishing boat, coast to Scotland or something like that, and doing like a proper, almost Jaws-esque kind of suspenseful film. I think you could do something really cool with it.
Well, that's it. It's like either like they get
doing bloody King Kong, Godzilla style, and it'll just spoil it.
It's like someone getting stuck on, like, so almost like a little bit of land or something, and they're trying to get off it or something. The isolation and all that, and then the real. But, like, you know, the Ted Danson one, it's a love story, and then everything else, it's kind of like, you know, it's weird that Scotland hasn't endorsed it now because, like, you know, it's still pushed hard as tourism, but then everyone's got phones, everyone's got cameras now, and still, you know, like, the myth is dying in a way.
Yeah. Well, this is it. I think that's what would make it good now, because I think you could really get a surge on it. I don't know how you feel about like Hollywood right now, right? So you've had the teen book generation, which were like The Insurgency, Divergent, and then you've got like Twilight and stuff like that. I don't think it's dying, but I do feel like we're getting enough with the MCU and comic book film. What's the next big thing for Hollywood? What sort of franchise kickoff could you do? And I still think monsters are still out there. I think Universal monsters for sure. If you do, Universal cocking it up.
The biggest thing they did wrong with that was stop. Like, now, if they had continued making the movies and there was some kind of the Dark Universe, you know, when you put Tom Cruise in The Mummy, and you're going to create this, and they just stop. They're always wanting the franchise. I love the Dilophosaurus opinion here. This is quite good.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Because you would want to see that in the original movie.
Yeah.
You know, you kind of like, you know, monsters are there. We're getting another Frankenstein. We're getting another Wolfman. Like, we've been there and had these stories. Do you know what I mean?
Well, the way they advertised it, like, do you remember that famous group photograph they did, where it had like Johnny Depp and they had Russell Crowe and they had all these people, and they basically said, "Welcome to the MCU's version of Universal Monsters." And you knew straight away when they did that. I was like, "Well, you've shit the bed really, because now you've got this expectation that people need to have all these join and the dot systems." And the thing with the MCU is, yes, they always knew they had a plan, but I don't even think you knew that from the very early stages. I think watching Iron Man 1 and Captain America, there was no like big, oh, this is going to be joined to this huge universe. I think eventually got there, but I think most people were just watching them as individual films. Whereas when you watch The Mummy, having a Tom Cruise film with The Mummy is just ridiculous.
Yeah.
The film was bad. It was terribly made, but then I love the idea of Russell Crowe being a Jekyll and Hyde. I love the concept. I think Johnny Depp could do a good Invisible Man. And I think there's so many things they could do with it, but they totally shit the bed, and now nobody wants to touch it because of how bad it was used. And I was like, well, the idea wasn't bad, it was just poorly executed.
I think like Godzilla Kong.
The film, though, just to give you the fact that Blue just literally nodded his head and said, "Go now, I'll protect you," is where I fall off. This is I get annoyed. It was ridiculous.
I think we're ready for a remake era.
Confused by the hologram. I love the silliness of it, but when Blue fucking looks at him, he goes, nods his head. That was my winking a gun, that, and it's ridiculous.
Yeah, well, as I say, I think we're ready for a remake era. I think that they're going to try and reboot it. I wouldn't be surprised if stuff like Twilight and all that has a resurgence. But I think with Hollywood, it's kind of like give films a chance, but there's too much going straight to streaming. I don't think Beverly Hills Cop. I think Beverly Hills Cop should have had a theatrical run. Anything that's got going to bring people out should not be just slapped on there to make like that's what we're watching, right? Get people out there and stuff.
Well, it was like Roadhouse. That was like kind of, and don't get me wrong, it was fine. It wasn't a great film. It was all right, but the remake of Roadhouse, the problem was that, again, too many people fucking around, because you've got like the fact that the guy who directed it was given reassurance that this was going to cinema. He made a film for cinema, and he was like absolutely fuming, and he didn't even attend the premiere. He totally boycotted the whole thing because they eventually screwed him up by saying, actually, we're just going to put it straight on the streaming service. And then, obviously, I think it was all right. It was well received to a certain degree, but it's not exactly going to be... Well, even the first one wasn't exactly a Hollywood blockbuster.
I believe the Raptors just went over there and got fried on Stan Winston's barbecue.
It did, yeah, and I thought that was really good, because this is where it's kind of testing up the waters a little bit, because if we go back to Vincent D'Onofrio's death, that was really cool, because to be honest with you, that was close to the original, with the fact that it does generally look like the Raptor's biting his arm off, but then there's also a huge blood splatter, which I don't think we've seen that much like blood in this film yet, have we?
Yeah, I think in this...
There was no like gore or anything like that, where when you see Sam Jackson's scene in the first one, when he's literally like arms off and everything, that was kind of like, okay, that's what Dinosaur would do.
Now, this bit had nostalgia written all over it, and like you just know.
Oh yes.
But then everyone's just like, "Oh, she outran a T-Rex and heels."
Yeah.
But like,
it is ridiculous. Don't get me wrong. After like when they were in the little hut, there could have been like some Jurassic Park trainers or something like that. She could have quickly went, "Oh my god, I might have to change it to these because I can't walk in these heels."
I mean, it's right on her there.
Beautiful scene. I love that. The red on her and him coming out the shadows.
It's a girl, man. I think Rexy's a girl.
I don't see gender.
Shut up, man.
Yeah, sorry, I do apologise. I love how I was referring to both women, so obviously I wanted to make it clear that I was talking about each one.
And obviously we get a homage back here when it smashes through the Spinosaurus.
Yeah. See, I don't recall it being that glaringly obvious there, but the camera was very much panned on her feet. So do you think they were like thinking as a laugh, let's just make it really funny and have her running heels? Because it would be weird to use that camera angle if you weren't necessarily wanting people to notice that she was still wearing high heels.
Yeah. Now we get the showdown.
It's off.
And then just when you think we're going to get blue and then we're going to get them all in.
Avengers assemble.
It's kind of weird to say how the two things fight when they've hardly got any arms.
Yeah. Well, you know, I mean, I don't believe in it, but I think it's really quite a lovely little kind of theory, is that someone had put online like a side view of a T-Rex skeleton, but they also had another image next to it, which was a side view of an ostrich as a skeleton. And the problem is, when I say the problem, the thing about you're supposed to pay attention to is the fact that the bone structure is identical. And so the conversation was that why on earth did the T-Rex like develop such short arms? You know, it didn't seem very practical. It's not very, it didn't make no sense. And someone would turn around saying maybe the T-Rex was in fact a dragon, because obviously the bone structure to an ostrich, which we all know has wings, was identical. Oh, here comes blue. Sorry, I need the Madonna music to kick in from Deadpool and Wolverine.
Well, they're just all teamed up.
Yep. So yes, I do love the idea that T-Rex was in fact well, to be really nerdy about it, a weaving, because a weaving would be a dragon on two legs.
Well, a dragon, I mean, I did Rain of Fire podcast, and I think that has held up really well, special effects wise.
Yeah. I could say I need to rewatch that actually. It's been a long, long time, but I just remember watching it going, what the hell is this? When they started doing like the Star Wars, that's it, when they do Star Wars in play.
Yeah. And
I remember watching it for the first time, well, what the hell am I watching? I thought it was a dragon film.
Here it comes, flying to the side.
Now, did you see that coming?
Yeah.
In the first film, the first time we watched it?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't. No, I didn't. They're clearly on land. It never occurred to me that would jump out of the water to get them.
I mean, don't get us wrong.
But
In the next one,
like, oh yeah, I kind of seen it coming. I was like, I didn't.
I do like the nostalgia crossover that they go in there, don't they? Because they go in there to find some of it to make the new dinosaurs. But I love it when it creeps up behind them. But apart from that, see, the T-Rex there just looks like quite. Because it's realistic what it looks like. And I went, well, no, not really. Like, you know, the Jurassic Park has its T-Rex.
Yeah. There's a nod again.
And off he goes.
See you later, Blue.
Or as it runs away. No, but I don't think.
Shot.
It is, but it is all CGI, isn't it?
Alright. I can see it being a drone. I can see that originally being one of the drones in the first Jurassic Park archives or something like that. Seeing and him being still there, I think he's a good actor. I think he's quite funny. I think he could have had a bit more to do with saving him. I know he obviously opened the gate when she needed it to be open, but I think like now when it's panned back to him on his own.
Even like, I mean,
he must have did all of what we just happened. He'd just been sitting there watching it on screen.
Well, even with him, this is what he could have been doing there, which maybe's got cut out just for that. Whoa, is maybe he could have like sort of sent a shark flying across, and like probably like teased the other thing to come like surface. You know what I mean? But yeah, you're right. He's just I'm just going to shut it off.
Oh, definitely. Now, what sort of compensation are we looking at here?
Oh.
You know, I reckon, but then again, do you think they could stand in court and go, listen, I'm not being funny, right? But you knew what you were signing up for. We literally had this happen a couple of years ago, so you can't be really shocked. But no, yeah, I think it's a decent Jurassic World film, and I think I would definitely put this as. Oh, I don't know. There's a thing now. I was gonna say probably put, without naming all of them, I would say Jurassic Park's obviously the definitive best thing ever. But I would then maybe put Lost World ahead of this.
No way! Shut up!
Then I would put Lost World on this. I would put it, so Jurassic Park, Lost World, then this, then Jurassic Park 3, and then the other two can go in any order. I couldn't give it a toss.
I would put Jurassic Park 3 over Lost World.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, nah.
Yeah.
It's not any good. Oh, no. It's good. Don't get me wrong. It's not that good. Like,
I mean, don't get us wrong. I love the hype. I've got all the hype in the world for when Lost World was coming out, especially we were living in New Zealand at the time. Like, the promo stuff, it's coming. It wasn't a fucking event. It's just looking back at it now, it's just like, come on.
Yeah, but a Lost World still feels like a Jurassic Park film more than Jurassic Park 3, I think.
I mean, this is like, it's a nice remake, kind of homage. It ticks all the buttons. I think this is like a really good movie.
Yeah.
And although this is the original T-Rex, it just doesn't look like the Jurassic Park T-Rex, even though it is. Nah. It's a modern one.
Didn't everyone say like they weren't even 100% sure until they saw the scarring on the neck?
Yeah, they put that in, yeah.
In the first film, yeah.
So, how many... Oh, I don't know. Ooh.
See what we're doing this out of?
We're 5.
Out of 5.
How many... I don't know.
I'm stumped now. All I can think of is dino eggs.
How many Jeff Goldblum books out of 5 would you give it?
Out of 5, I would give this. I would say this is a strong 3 Jeff Goldblum books out of 5.
Nah, 4.
Are you going 4? Yeah.
Yeah, because it's all downhill from here.
I mean, if that's what you're working, that's not what you're grading on. I'm just grading it on its own as a film, and I think the characters are half and half. I think there's a bunch of people in here I couldn't give a mountain about, but then there's also ones that are like enough to justify that they exist in the film. I feel like a lot of the success comes from the nostalgia. I feel like if Jurassic Park didn't exist, this would be a very, I don't know, it's a bit messy at times. You know, I think there's too much going on. I think they could have reined it in a bit, but obviously being that they had all the money in the world and that they got a chance to make a Jurassic Park that actually opened, I think there was a lot going on with it. I mean, I agree with you 4 if you're going to base it on a trilogy. But as a standalone film, 3 is about as close as I can get. I mean, if I'm being completely honest, I would have said 3.5. But I know you don't like me doing half, so therefore.
Well, I think with it did exactly what it was meant to do. It rebooted the franchise massively. Yeah. It had nostalgia. It told its own story. It reintroduced Jurassic Park to a new generation. There's loads of ideas, and the trilogy is almost a reflection of itself. They didn't learn the lesson from the original trilogy because they rushed the second one too quickly, with a story that at the time, I remember my review is on YouTube. I would have said I enjoyed it. It was a haunted house kind of thing. It had the island blowing up, but like looking back at it, it could have been done a lot better. But that's again, your reviews. You can say what you've got to remember how you felt, because I remember going to the pictures and seeing this and having nostalgia and like coming out of that cinema feeling fulfilled and having like a lighter step in me step that day because I experienced something I really liked, and like it gave us that Jurassic Park vibe I had back as a kid,
Yeah.
And you're watching it back there's a lot going on, and you want loads more, but again, as a trilogy, it just kind of like, there's a few things you probably could change, but by the time it's like chucking money at it, by the time the third ones came around and all the cast are coming back and they haven't been true to Jurassic Park. Jurassic Park originally was always ambitious. Steven Spielberg. I mean, this would have been a little bit more tentative if he came back and directed it, but like, it kind of would have went something like, here's an idea, and then they've tried to go one way, then try to do an Avengers and having an ensemble cast, and it's just all falling flat and trying to play it safe and not an overall threat. You know, the threat changes. No one's come to see clones. You know what I mean? It's kind of like...
And that's the weird thing about it as well, you know. That's the thing that I always laughed about after watching the second of the new ones, is that I don't know what it is about it, but I'm 100% on board with recreating dinosaurs and bringing them all back to life because there's one mosquito in amber. But as soon as they introduced it last as a clone, I was like, too far-fetched. I just say, I've lost interest. How on earth are you going to try and pull off this? How am I supposed to believe that this little girl is in fact an entire clone made, and yet for some reason I didn't even question it when it came to dinosaurs?
I mean, it's like kind of like if this had been a hit, what they should have really done is make the next two parts a part 1 and a part 2.
Yeah.
And sort of like over two...
It was going to be a trilogy, that was the thing. I may be wrong, but I'm sure when they first announced it, they actually said, there's going to be a slate of 3 new Jurassic Park films. So there was always going to be a trilogy, so that would make more sense.
But from this to where we...
Is, though, like, what I would always... My question is that, and it's kind of a weird one. So assume that we have all these Jurassic Parks on a slate, right? All different films. Is the first one lightning in a bottle that needed to be left alone? Or do you think the downfall of a lot of the sequels are down to bad decisions? Do you think there could have been better films? Because I always feel like the problem with Jurassic Park is that we've done it both several times during watching it, is that we're kind of saying, this is trying to do what the first one did, or the first one did this so much better. The big question is Jurassic Park, like I say, a lightning in a bottle, and that should have just been left as one film? Or is it just down to bad decisions that have made the sequel not as good?
I think like Jurassic Park is an absolute masterpiece and one of Spielberg's best. And I think it's part of the time where it's a farewell to old school filming techniques and embracing the new. And it's done with the right people at the right time. The problem with the sequel is the original book was rushed. The story, again, it pretty much just feels like it's the same thing rehashed. You know, they didn't introduce any new dinosaurs really in the second one that much. And obviously the T-Rex, New York, there's loads of plot holes. You know, it's just not good. The third one, a new big bad. Something that should have probably been in the second one. It's still on an island. It's an isolated incident. It brings in what you want it like with the birds. But it was over 10 years later, and then you know it's kind of different. I think if they changed it around and Jurassic Park 3 was actually Jurassic Park 2, but they want the Spielberg magic, they want a safe movie, and the reality is if a dinosaur's there and looking evil, it's going to scare the shit out of you, and it suffers like what the turtles did, where you take away the turtles' weapons and you dull down the dinosaurs to the fact that pat it on their head. Well, fuck off. It's going to rip your fucking arm off. You know what I mean? It's like, but like, I think when enough time had passed, I think with Jurassic World, it's open to the public. Yeah, everyone loves the T-Rex and the Raptors from the original, but you don't want them to die, kind of thing. And then you get like the second one's a clusterfuck. The fucking third one's just the third one is the most recent film, and I can't fucking remember it, and I've seen it at least twice.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong, I remember what you mentioned earlier on about the mosquitoes or bees or whatever.
Yeah.
I know that in vision, like when they're in the crop field and stuff like that. But yeah, I couldn't tell you a single thing about a scene.
I remember they all end up at some kind of safe haven at the end, and you know, it's again played safe, Blue's safe, T-Rex is safe, got his home. And again, I do remember the Dilophosaurus is back in, And I also remember the toy I had as a kid when I had a big fin that brought all the characters kind of in because they ran out of fucking ideas. The Dino Riders, Apocalypse thing, over an hour of footage has been left on the chopping room floor. And let's just face it, like, one of the original cast should have got killed. You know what I mean?
There was no risk. I think everyone felt.
I mean, if Jeff Goldblum is stupid enough to, Jeff Goldblum's out there again with a flare, waving at a dinosaur. I mean, come on, he's dead. You don't get.
I think there's also a scene in the trailer, though, isn't there? I think it's Grant, and he's hanging on to Laura Dern, and it's in the trailer. And I think the way they edited it looked like she's horrified. And I was sitting there going, have they literally just shown you Grant's death in a trailer without showing you? And then when I watched the film, I was like, nah, what a load of bullshit. He should have died there. And he didn't.
Yeah. Again, played so safe. But I think Jurassic World, feel good. I mean, I still remember watching this just lying on the couch, and it gives you that. So, yeah. Well, we'll have to wrap this up because it's going to be a long podcast for me to master and render.
Yeah.
So thank you very much for listening. We'll be back with either Twister, Guest House Paradise, or The Lost Boys are definitely the three have now been shortlisted. So unlike us we will be returning with Paul Ray eventually. We were all sitting with Paul Ray yesterday. And yeah, we'll be back soon. So thanks very much for listening.